Hello. Welcome to my Good Life meditation for the 19th day of April 2025. My name is Kurt Bell. Welcome. This video is something that I do each and every day, a little bit after waking up, to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use the time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with the challenges and the opportunities that I met. I go over the 8 objectives of my creed, and I plan for the coming day. First, a quick greeting to new subscribers. It's great to have you here. This video is not a video about Japan necessarily, although this is Japan, little river front here. It's kind of a quiet, empty river. I'm on the other side of the one I was on yesterday. It's just over this wall. This is the quieter side. This is really, really a quiet side. There's nobody around. I could talk as loud as I want here. No one's going to hear. So this is a good place to be a foreigner in Japan if you want to speak with and just gesticulate with my voice. I do talk about things that are sometimes a little bit sensitive, like death in this video, so just be forewarned. Also, this video is all about me, for the most part. This is my video journal that I do every day, so if it seems like I'm going on and about myself, that's the purpose of this one. I do upload videos also. I typically upload 2 videos a day. The first in the morning my time is this video, and then usually in the afternoon at 4 p.m. my time, I'll do a video about Japan. So something like, what I found around and out there. So there we go. So I do want to thank you as well for the coffee that you all bought me, my viewers and my YouTube members, and especially my Patreon supporters. Thanks for the Emerald Mountain Blend from Georgia that I got, and I finished earlier down the stream. I sat where the confluence of the 2 rivers came together. It's quite pleasant, little deep pools there, some koi swimming, and very, very nice. I chose not to do the video there because it was a very conspicuous place. People walking their dogs. It would be very evident to have a foreigner, anyone, sitting down at the river, talking at a camera. So I thought I would, rather than disturb people's privacy, I'd come by a little upriver to this place where nobody ever comes. And this is really one of the places that I used to walk before I went back to America. I have a long history with Japan, a curiously clouded history of coming to Japan, typically falling on my face, and going back to America to strive again. And I discovered in that process that what they say about America being a land of opportunity is really true. Twice I've come to Japan with resources, lost everything, and went back to America and regained it all back. An amazing, such a thing as my country. Now, I won't speak. I know people are probably thinking, well, it's probably changed. I don't know. Maybe it has. It's been my experience over the course of my life that America is very welcoming to anyone with ambition and the courage to go forward into the unknown and try with sincerity and effort. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm old. Okay, well, that's enough of a preamble. Let's get started. Oh, one more little bit of preamble. I've been sitting here, literally, I was waiting to start this at 6 a.m. my time, and because I thought it would be nice if I start doing this at a regular time. For the last 4 months since I started doing this in Japan, I've been kind of haphazard within like an hour or 2 range, but 6 a.m. my time, and we don't have daylight savings time, so it'll be consistent. Every morning is the time that I'll be starting these. I got here about 5 minutes before 6 a.m. So I just sat down and I put my bag down, and I was literally sitting here and just looking down at the river. I saw these interesting artifacts, a couple of interesting artifacts. I guess that's the word. This is old terracotta, of course, nicely worn by the river. Now, terracotta has been used in Japan for millennia, so who knows how old that is. There's another piece. Here's a piece of glass, probably not too old. Looks like it's got some marks of manufacture. Here's an interesting one. This is, I would have thought it was a rock if I hadn't looked at it from this angle, and you can see the clear and distinct Can you see them distinctly? Am I holding it better? The clear and distinct line. See that? Oh, you can see it clearly there, right? There's definitely this is a roof tile piece from back in the day. And look at that clear marks there as well. But the most interesting I found was this piece right here. Oh, Kurt, this looks like a worn rock. But yeah, but if you turn the other around the other way, ooh, it's got painting on it. So probably an old piece of maybe a big urn or something like that. Urn, I don't know. The Japanese use urns, but it's clearly got a painted piece of ceramic. And I'm just going to create a little pile here. Maybe I'll create my own little pile. Someone has been here and added little stone rocks along the way. They've been doing the same thing. And I'll create a little pile. Maybe I'll make more videos here in the future. So I'm going to do 3 things now. The same 3 things that I do every day in this video is I'm going to talk about the last 24 hours and go over any notable, both. I'll go over both the challenges and the opportunities of note that I want to explore, if any. Haven't had a lot happening lately. Or I'll just talk about noteworthy thoughts in this transition into retired life, because a lot's going on. I'm 4 months into retirement, and it's an interesting process. It's far more rapid than any other life transition, like the transition from student to career was so immediate and so complete that it almost was over in an instant, like ripping a bandage off. The transition into parenthood was more gradual, with the lead up and the build up of when she lets you know she's expecting until the baby's there. And then you're so busy and occupied with it all that you can't. It's hard to take a moment to process it. And I think just spotted another piece of terracotta on the ground here, just everywhere. Two bits of history. This is an old river. And of course it's an old river. It's an old piece of place where humanity's been living for a long time. So, but this process now of transitioning from the workaday world to also to being an empty nester with our daughter grown and on her own, this is a process that frees us up to think about it, to experience it firsthand, to have basically limitless time, seemingly as limitless as 24 hours in the day, and then only those hours that we're awake to think about it. So it's a good chance to document it. And it's something that I don't hear very many old people do. So I'm going to stab at it. So the last 24 hours, I don't have anything of note. Nothing ambushed me yesterday. The PEF, the peaceful, easy feeling that I've been chronicling for the last for the last week and a half, is attendant every day now. I mean, look at me. I look, I've noticed it myself, disheveled in the best way. I feel like I'm becoming disheveled, like someone that's been like a man who's been gone to Baja, not for a drinking binge with the buddies, but just to get away from it all and just to walk on the beach and relax and have a few beers and not a drunken rage, but just a getaway. And that's how I feel like I both feel and I look. But it's different. It's more grounded than that. Again, hashtag retirement, talking about what that's like. I think this is a consequence of retirement. I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and she's here visiting. Emily came to visit yesterday in the morning, and we had her with us all day. We had such a great time with her. Oh my gosh. She took us out to lunch, and she bought it. She got her first paycheck yesterday too for her new job. She was 2 weeks into it. So she got her first paycheck. So she took us out to a really nice restaurant in Shizuoka, and we had the most nice time with her all grown-up daughter. And she and I were talking about how when people have rough patches in life. They can kind of hit a crossroads where, in particular, we were talking about young people, like mid 20s. You know, if life was challenging up to that point, you can kind of have a high-low road and a low road you can choose. The low road is choosing that your narrative, your life story and narrative will be the story and narrative of not getting a fair shake at life. You know, that life screwed us over with an unwholesome family, you know, poor relationships, poor luck, poor advantage, poverty itself, whatever the case may be. And that becomes the baseline story upon which the rest of our lives revolve around. You know, it doesn't mean we won't be successful in our efforts to live well, but it means that'll be our story, and it's a negative story. It can be something that catapults some people in some ways and is in catalyzing force. Another route, maybe there's not absolute, maybe it's not one or the other, but just to simplify things in our conversation together yesterday, the other route is where we make the story one of climbing out of that, where the emphasis isn't the woe is me tragedy of the disadvantage that we had. I would consider myself to be one that was so disadvantaged. I didn't come from a happy or a sound or a complete or a supportive home at all. And I told my daughter about how after my parents divorced, and then my mother literally hooked up with this utter loser, really bad guy. And I decided, I was living with her, my brother and I were living with her, and I decided I would go live with my dad. It was living about 60 miles away, but it was about a 2.5 hour drive to get there. I was old enough to drive. And I remember going to move to live with him, and his life was a mess too. Dad was drinking and lived in this dingy, dumpy apartment by the freeway down in the Los Angeles area. I knew that wasn't going to be good. He was totally he checked out from parenthood, even though my brother was only like 16 and I was like 17. They weren't done by any means. They still had some work to do, Mom and Dad. And then, of course, a lot of stuff had led up to that. You know, this had built up. You know, since we were little. Anyway, I remember I told Emily last night. I said I was driving to Dad's with my car full of stuff, which I didn't have much. I was moving there, and I pulled to the side of the road. I went up. I took a little mountain pass to slow myself down. I knew that this was an important transition, although I wasn't really cognizant thinking about it. I didn't want to hurry it through, and I stopped the car at a mountainside, got out of the car, and I climbed up the side without anything in me, just my clothes and my back and my shoes, and I climbed up the side of a hill and sat against a pine tree. I could almost find that tree if it's still there, if I was to go back. I tried once. I think I almost found it. I found the spot. And I leaned against the tree, and I was telling my daughter how I thought, Kurt, this is where you get to decide, Kurt. Are you going, and I literally thought that, so are you taking, now at this point I was 17, I think, are you going to take the low road, where your story is going to be this, shitstorm of a circumstance that you're in? Or are you gonna take the high road? And I sat there, didn't take much thought. I knew what I would choose. I am a high road kind of guy, and I chose the high road. And what that meant was that instead of making my life story one of being based on and relating or telling, I mean, I rarely tell this story. It's come across it. I tell it once in a while in these videos because when it's relevant and apt. But I don't talk about that stuff very much because I chose not to let that be what defined me. I chose instead to be my optimism and my enthusiasm and curiosity and desire for intellectual engagement in life, and to live a meaningful life and days of bright, energetic anticipation. I didn't word it in all that way. It was more like I didn't even really, I don't even know that I verbalized it much. I just kind of made a decision. Climbed back down the mountain, got back in my car, drove down to my dad's, and it was a shitstorm. But I chose, I chose not to make that my story. And instead I went, I lived the same course of life. But you get what I mean, right? Now, what does that have to do with what's going on right now? Well, as a here in retirement, I have a lot of time to think about it and a lot of freedom, and I have resources, and I don't have a lot of expectations anymore. But I feel like it's a kind of a similar crossroads again, where one crossroad, and probably a month ago I would have said one crossroad would be to, uh, you know, just say life is done and just wait it out. Another crossroad would be to, you know, as I was mentioning yesterday, to rail against the night and, to fill my life with intent, purposeful intent, lots of things. But I'm discovering a third option, which is kind of a melding of the two without the negativity. And that is to enjoy the silence and the peace of all this. And so I started like walking, and this started yesterday. I was out with my family and just enjoying it the way that old people talk about enjoying their grown children, and they talk about enjoying grandkids, which maybe someday I'll get to enjoy that as well. It really is something else. It's not at all like the pleasure of being a parent, which is a lot of work and a lot of responsibility. Being with our grown children, once they're mature and able to handle themselves, and seeing them, spending time with them, and or, enjoying the sight of them succeeding and doing well is a species of satisfaction all its own. And in all of that yesterday, I was kept reminding myself, Kurt, you don't have to do anything. There's nothing to, you don't have to take a photo. You don't have to record anything down. You don't have to, uh, strive after anything. You can just enjoy this experience right now. And as we were walking downtown together, every step was just in the moment, really enjoying it. And I began extrapolating that out to so many things. Driving down the road, driving my family home in the evening, taking the dog for a walk, the dinner time that we had together. Yumiko made a nice dinner. My daughter wanted to go down to the river by our house. She asked to borrow my water boots to literally look for relics in the stream, and going down with her and doing that, talking about the garden with her. So these notes, probably, if I didn't read them yet, but there's 3 items that I have for the last 24 hours. The first one is, and I think this is going to summarize it, is PEF, which PEF stands for Peaceful, Easy Feeling, this week and a half long experience of just really feeling good. I'm saying PFE melding into something else. That's the first thing I'm noticing. It's melding into something else. And then the next note says, enjoying loss of good vision. That's an interesting one. My vision is starting to give out, as is so many things, right? I'm getting old. And beginning with about 3 years ago, I started to really feel myself decline. And I don't, remember I warned you when we talk about death and stuff like that. This is the kind of thing that I always, when I say this, people start leaving comments, oh, no, you'll live a long time. I don't think I will live a long time. The minute my family don't live long, on both sides of the family for that matter, with rare exceptions. And that's all right. I'm all right with that. And I think I beat the crap out of myself during the course of my career. I took pretty good care of myself, but I pretty much used my body up like an old sponge that you've been scrubbing dishes with. So beginning about 3 years ago, I began to feel just basically like an old car that's starting to, had a lot of mileage, right? I mean, it's just an old car. It's not a lot of mileage on it. I eat well. I don't drink a lot. I have a beer, maybe 2 or 3 nights a week, maybe 4. with dinner, just one. And here I am. I'm trying to make all these excuses, right? Because I know what's coming. Because I'm trying to say, well, because it unsettles people when I talk about this. I'm all right with growing old, and I'm all right if death does come soon. And this saying, enjoying loss of good vision, literally, I'm kind of enjoying it. I've gotten farsighted in one eye and nearsighted in the other eye, which means that everything is everything is kind of screwed. If I want to look at a long distance, I close this eye and I can see clearly. If I want to read, I have to close this eye and I can read clearly. Get it? And I've seen an optometrist, and they said, yeah, we can make you up a prescription that'll cover 50% of, they'll do it, right? They'll fix it. And I wear glasses and I can see everything. And I haven't done it because I'm kind of enjoying this experience. I can read with one eye. I read like a pirate, right? I can see clearly distance. If I close the one eye, I can see clearly. I don't mind. Literally, the word that I want to emphasize there is enjoying the loss of good vision. The reason I'm enjoying it is that, like when I was looking for artifacts here in the stones earlier, I was like, I can't see anything very clearly because it's kind of a middle distance. And I was like, this is kind of fun because when I could see things clearly, I would like look at stuff and I would like, is that an artifact? And I would like pick it up, or I would just skim over it because my perfect vision, which I had up until recently, literally I had 20/20 up until like a year ago. When you have perfect vision, you take it for granted. Now that my vision is failing, it reminds me that the rest of me is failing, and it reminds me that I'm not going to be around much longer. Much longer doesn't mean 3 months. Much longer means 20 years. I won't be. I'm confident I won't be here in 20 years. If I think that's an artifact and I'm really curious, now's the time to have a look. Now's the time to pick it up slowly. Now it's the time to turn it over in my hand a little bit. Wonder what these colors mean. What could that have been? Look at how worn it is. This has been tumbled around in the river for a while. This is probably old. This is probably from the Edo period, Meiji period, something like that. See what I mean? So the second item here, enjoying the loss of good vision, the emphasis is on enjoying. Doesn't mean I'm enjoying the pains in my joints so much, even though it's largely faded. I don't know what's going on with that. The arthritis that I had, the early onset arthritis, seems to have largely gone away, but you get what I mean. And then I have a third item here, the mystery beach. What the heck is that? I forgot what that meant. Mystery beach. What did I mean by that? I don't know. That's what I get for not making a clear note. Okay, now let's go over my creed. I have 8 objectives that I'm striving towards every day. These are, number 1, to be always ready to die. This means I need to have my affairs in order, my relationships in good order, and my life's work, if not complete, in good order. And they are. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of time so that I'm not wasting my days. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles so that I have a good constitution, so to speak, that I use to inform and guide my decision making. 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions so that I don't respond poorly to things that could maybe upset and unsettle me, that I instead respond well. Even if they do upset and unsettle me, I'm still going to respond well. More stoic in my responses. 5 is to perform good actions relative to my values. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and true opportunities so that I'm striving after things that are actually attainable and achievable and not so concerned about stuff that isn't. Sometimes these little artifact things just jump out at you. What's this? It could be just a rock, but it kind of looks like it could be a piece of ceramic, huh? Next is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. Ooh, look at this. This is a piece of terracotta. This is definitely a piece of terracotta, like a terracotta pot. That's the edge, and it was glazed. Maybe not that old, but it's pretty worn. And then the last of my objectives is to maintain my balance, which literally means my physical balance and my mental balance, so that I don't trip up and lose my footing when I need to maintain self-control. All right, as for today, what am I going to do today? I have my notes here. The next 24 hours, a flea market. Emily, our daughter, wants to go to the flea market, which Yumiko and I go to almost every weekend. There's a flea market here in Shizuoka, Antiques. I started up my old YouTube, not my YouTube store. I did start that, but I decided to move my YouTube store over to my eBay store. And I'm listing one item a day over there. It's on eBay, softypapa, SOFTYPAPA, just like it sounds, is my store. And I've got 4 listings up over there, and I'm adding one every day. I remember before I said about how it would be easy to kind of devolve into just, letting life peter off. Well, I've decided not to do that. I want to keep my mind nimble, even though I'm fine with growing old, and so he says. I think I'm fine with growing old and dying. I don't want to just come to an end. So I need to keep my mind nimble and engaged. So I've set myself up with my old business, my antique business, on my old eBay store, which I've had all this time. And I'm listing one item a day over there. And this is going to be fun. So we go to the flea market, and Emily wants to go. She seems to have gained an interest into that, just like her mother has too. Wow, both my family members my immediate family members are interested in this. And I've regained an interest in it as well after more than, I lost my business in 2008. And what is it, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 25, what is that, 17 years. Has it really been that long since I lost my business? Well, fortunately, which soiled me of the interest in antiques, but fortunately I got that interest back. Well, I'm done. See, look how peaceful this is. I sit out here, I can talk about anything I want. There's nobody around. I can be as loud as I want. Whatever the heck. And no comments. So I'll then wish you all the best. Please be safe, but not too safe. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Oh, Blue Tanuki. I've also started to read with one eye when I'm tired. Have a good weekend. Oh, you too. Thank you. Let's call it pirate eye reading. Michelle, yes, there are times that just sitting on my porch at sunrise and sunset gives me a sense of peace. That's lovely, Michelle. Have a great day, everybody.